Welcome everyone, Costin here with a discussion about Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires. In this particular video, I will be talking about my recommended list of legendary lords races for new players, for noobs. If you are just starting the game, you don't know anything, what should you play? Is a good question. It's something I've pretty much answered in a longer video. I'll link that one at the end of this one, though that was also about the easiest to play. And one of the things to say here is if you're a new player, you may not necessarily want to jump into the easiest races, the easiest legendary lords, because, hey, I could say play Warriors of Chaos, play Be'lakor. If you can play Immortal Empires, you can play Be'lakor, even if you don't own the Warriors or Champions of Chaos. But would that be a recommended choice? No, because although Be'lakor is good and strong, the Warriors of Chaos are currently too strong at the moment, and you'll just steamroll the game fairly easily, and you won't necessarily learn the lessons you need as a new player. Like, if you just want to have one of the easiest campaigns available, yeah, playing Be'lakor or Archaon if you own the Warriors of Chaos can be a really good choice. But at the same time, it's not going to teach you what you need to know. I would obviously recommend playing the tutorial campaign, though it is a bit hand-holding and doesn't necessarily teach you everything you need to know. If you just want an easy time, yeah, you can play Warriors of Chaos, but if you want to actually learn, I would not recommend Warriors of Chaos. It can be fun, but they're too strong at the moment, and they're very different than the other races currently in the game. So to kick it off, at number 3, it would be Norsca, and I would recommend Throgg the Troll King. The other choice is Wulfric. Now, yes, this is a DLC race that was included as a pre-order bonus for Warhammer 2, though they initially added it in Warhammer 1, as the last race they added in Warhammer 1. But why Norsca? Well, I think Norsca is simple enough to play, but also you do need to care about certain things when you are playing them. You're not going to get the ranged doom stack and just annihilate your enemies with ranged weaponry, like say the Wood Elves or High Elves, which may teach people some of the wrong things when they're engaging in battle. Instead, you're going to focus heavily on melee units and monster units, and single entities or smaller entities or powerful berserkers. Now, my recommendation for Throgg is because he does start in an incredibly good position. He does start with a barracks that you can start upgrading, and if he does upgrade it, he can start getting more other berserkers, and he also starts with a port. Like, he starts with the tier 2 settlement. And the way Norsca works is, if you kill the faction leader, or the leader of another faction, well, this happens. Let me just show you. I auto-resolve this. Easy enough. Get the treasury. And this will happen. You'll be able to form a confederation if you kill the leader. So Throgg has one of the strongest starts of any faction in the campaign. And I would say Norsca is in a pretty decent space. Their ports are ridiculously powerful, but overall, but beyond that, they overall have a pretty decent economy, pretty decent roster, without it descending into a farce. Many factions can, for many lords, it can descend into a farce, and I do think that's something that does hold them back from my perspective. Now, beyond that, beyond having a pretty decent roster, a pretty good starting position, why I would recommend Norsca is, although Norsca itself, if I toggle the Fog of War, this is a mod, Norsca itself is safe, but it's not too safe. It's close enough to the Empire and Kislev that you do have to worry about those issues. The way I would say a campaign as Norsca, like if you're playing Throgg, you're going to have to deal with the dwarves. The dwarves will have a pretty decent army to throw at you. You will have a better army. Like, get those Marauder Berserkers. Quickly enough. Go for a deal with Krakadrak, and they will present a decent enough early game challenge. But after that, what do you do? Well, you could go join in the fight for Kislev alongside Trot and Azazel, if you so desire, or you can head west to conquer the rest of Norsca. Though conquering the rest of Norsca will leave you vulnerable to Bretonnia. What I think is interesting about Norsca is that their territory is good and it's safe, but it's not too safe. It can be vulnerable to invasion, although the AI doesn't necessarily like going across the sea. So when they do invade you across the sea, you know it's serious business is about to go down because they've sent the full military force to try and wipe you out. Generally, it will be Bretonnia that does that against Wulfric. But you can unite the people of Norsca very quickly, and then you can decide where you want to take your campaign. You want to go have a hard time, go for Kislev. You want to take on the Empire, you want to take Bretonnia, there's decisions. Or you can go into the Chaos Waste, the Yellow Malice Darkblade, you may end up having to fight them anyway. And I'd say there's quite a lot to learn, potentially, if you are playing a Norscan faction, just because of the star position alone. It's safe, but not too safe. It's good, but not to the level that you will be completely isolated on the campaign map and not have to deal with any potential foes. Yes, this one has an outside of being a DLC pack, so you will have to pay for it if you want to play Norsca. But honestly, I would struggle to, when it comes to races, I would say they're certainly, especially out of the DLC races, I'd say Norsca is probably one of the best for new players to pick up, because it's one that will teach them quite a lot. So, strongly recommended. If you're a new player, pick up Norsca, play Throgg or Wulfric, whatever you want to do. Play one of these guys. Though Wulfric has a harder start, it can take him longer to get going. Though he's just as good, if not better than Throgg. Throgg is better for buffing trolls, whereas Wulfric is better for buffing marauders. Now, number 2, it would have to be the Greenskins under Grimgor Ironhide. The Greenskins are a fairly blunt and simple race to play, so it's great for a new player to get used to the game mechanics. Though they do have regular recruitment like most other races, global recruitment, regular recruitment. They do have powerful casters, powerful melee infantry, pretty good ranged actually. Even with their basic goblin archers, they're pretty decent. They're not the best, elven archers would decimate them, but they're in a pretty good, decent spot. And pretty much every Greenskin legendary lord is going to find themselves in a situation where they're going to be doing quite a lot of fighting, be it Grimgor, Azax, Karsnik, Grom, or Zag. So they're good if you want to get into the thick of it, but you want to get into the thick of it playing a powerful race that can and will curb stomp their enemies. For instance, here with this campaign, I've pretty much conquered all of the mountains of Morn as things currently stand, and I do have an agreement with Village there to secure my northern flank, whereas I'm moving in the south. And yeah, I'm the second most powerful faction in the game on legendary very hard battle difficulty. It is pretty ridiculous how powerful Greenskins can be, but I also think they're a great race for people to learn. I actually thought that ever since Warhammer 1. They don't trade, so they get more income from their base economic buildings. Now, given the way trade works in Warhammer 3, you're actually going to end up with a very powerful economy as Greenskins. Like for instance, here I'm generating 15,000. But the reason I would recommend the Greenskins is it's very easy to get going, it's very easy to get control, to get growth. Sure, if you don't have your WA meter in any way, shape, or form filled up, yeah, you're gonna suffer significantly. But if you do start filling it up, you do gain substantial bonuses, and when you declare a WA, you do keep these bonuses, I believe. And declaring a WA just gives you each army. So for instance, I have one army here, another army here, dealing with a Skaven infestation, and an army here to the north that's gone ahead and taken the Silver Pinnacle. And each of these armies, when you do fill as meter and declare a WA on target, will get a full stack of troops to support them. Now those troops will not be anywhere near as good as your regular troops because they won't have the ranks. They won't have the scrap upgrades if you get them. Greenskins do have a unique scrap mechanic. Actually, I'm going to use it on these fellows. Yeah, just get jagged weapons. They have a pretty good tech tree. Initially they start buffing. Really, you get a lot of buffs for your goblin units, which are going to be the mainstay of your armies, especially in the early game. But after that, they start buffing their higher tier units, their artillery, their trolls, etc. So they have a good tech tree, they have good growth, they have good control. They're powerful, but they also have challenges to deal with, every single one of their legendary lords. Some more than others do have to deal with quite a bit of challenges. I think the Greenskins, although they're a bit too powerful right now relative to their neighbors, in the sense they can certainly get the steamroller going, if there were some balance changes to those other factions, I think the Greenskins would be a great race in a lot of ways. And they would hit that sweet spot. They're just a bit below it, but I think they're close to hitting that sweet spot between creating a race, a faction, and with legendary lords that each of them has their own challenges to deal with, but are powerful enough to deal with them without feeling very frustrated. It's fun playing the Greenskins. It's great playing the Greenskins, and if you don't want to play a campaign where you will feel a great deal of frustration, like Kislev, for instance, or the Empire, Greenskins are highly recommended if you want to just have a really solid ride without descending into the farce that the Warriors of Chaos can be. I'd highly recommend them for anyone that's playing the game right now, but especially for new players. Finally, on number 1, it would have to be Lokhir, Fellheart of Dark Elves. Lokhir starts in a really good spot on the campaign, which is in Cafe, and I think Cafe is one of the best zones of the campaign map, at least in terms of its design. In terms of difficulty, I can feel a bit lacking, but when you look at it, when you look at the variety of terrain, the size of it, it's one of the few areas which have actually been improved in Immortal Empires, or probably the only area that has been improved significantly in Immortal Empires from the base game. So Creative Assembly has put a lot of effort into making Cafe work very well, and I think it does show. So it's a nice area. It's not too challenging, though there can be a decent level of challenge to be found if you are playing a campaign in Cafe. And Lokhir does have benefits to Black Arcs, and he can get access to the units there very quickly. There are only 2 legendary lords of Dark Elves that do start to the Black Arc, and Lokhir gets a benefit in that he gets a special structure on the one he starts with. I think if you lose it, you can construct it on another one, or maybe you can revive him and make and get his Black Arc again. I'm not exactly sure how that works. Try not to lose them. They can be difficult to replace. But he gets benefit in that he can recruit a Black Arc for every port he has. And, well, you're going to start with quite a few ports available to you. Like, you start with 1, you can get 3 more pretty quickly. So it's a good campaign from a geographical standpoint. You potentially have quite a few foes to actually deal with, though you are going to be in a pretty good position to deal with them. The benefit of Black Arcs is they do give you a lot of recruitment structures and a lot of units available to recruit from very early on. And they offer artillery support. Lokhir is also fun, is also great because he does give you significant post-battle options, like more loot post-battle, more casualties, slaves. Slaves are used to basically increase your income. And for certain commandments, or rather not commandments, diktats as they're called, where you consume slaves, there's also rights where you use slaves in order to get various bonuses. For instance, hey, I want to solve my public order situation. Yeah, just perform a rite. It doesn't cost money, it just costs slaves. You're going to be dealing with the slave economy of Dark Elves. It's nowhere near as overpowered as it was in Warhammer 2, but I actually think that's a good thing. Because right now, some of the most powerful races in the game are a bit too powerful. Dark Elves do end up being in that solid middle ground between being good but not too good, not so much of an unstoppable steamroller on a campaign. You'll certainly get some really powerful units, some powerful battle abilities, but yeah, you're not just going to steamroll the map with relative ease. And Black Arcs, although they're powerful, they do have a sphere of influence, which means that when you're going in the land too much, you're going to be limited. Although there are plenty of rivers in Cafe to take advantage of that. So that's nice to deal with. And you also have the ability to go via sea lane to the sea, from the Jade Sea over here to the Sea of Squalls. You do have that available for for yourself over there. Lokhir gets benefits to Black Ark Corsairs, which are pretty solid units. In fact, they're probably one of the more interesting units to use early on in the campaign because they're dual-wield melee units. They have a lot of armor, really good stats. These guys are pretty scary to deal with, though they're not unstoppable. They're not on the level of, say, Warriors of Chaos with great weapons or Treekin. They're strong, but not too strong. And I think that's really what I could say about the Dark Elves in general. Regardless of which Legendary Lord you want to play as them, though I would recommend Lokhir, because his campaign is a lot of fun, honestly. Like, you have the Coast of Cathay, you get powerful Black Arcs, you get access to recruitment of Black Ark Corsairs very quickly, you have a pretty good starting position, and you can have a lot of fun playing his campaign. Probably the most fun of really any Legendary Lord in the entire campaign. And at the same time, you're playing a race in a faction that, sure, you do get some special recruitment from Black Arcs, but you do still have traditional recruitment to deal with, and a traditional economy control, etc. To deal with. Because, yeah, you do have the slaves and you do have the Black Arcs, but beyond that, Dark Elves do play in a fairly traditional manner like many other factions. So if you want to learn the game, I would highly recommend them. Avoid Malekith, I would say, though you can play Rakarth if you want to focus on beasts. You can play Lokhir, you can play Morathi if you so desire. There's plenty of good choices. Or if you want to invade Hell itself, you do have the option over here, as a DLC, you do have the option of playing Malice Darkblade, who's probably stronger than Lokhir, though I'd argue less interesting, though he has the advantage of also starting with the Black Ark, though it's not going to be on the same level of power as Lokhir does have with his. But it's still pretty powerful. It's still pretty powerful what Malice has. Though a bit boring because he does end up steamrolling the entirety of Hell itself. I mean, you want to conquer Hell, play Malice. You want to fight in Warhammer China, play Lokhir. I do like Lokhir quite a bit. I've actually had a lot of fun playing his campaign. Or multiple times, like multiple campaign starts I've had with him, and it's generally been a very enjoyable ride, I'd say. Strong, but not too strong. Fun, good design of Cathay as a province. And although, and I think like just the Dark Elves in general are one of the better factions right now, or one of the better races right now in the game, because they don't descend into the clown show like the Warriors of Chaos or some other races descend into, where they become too strong and you're just steamrolling the mid-late game without any effort whatsoever. Anyway, that's all I had to say. Costin here signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, enable notifications, and I'll see you next time.